podcast. I am joined by a special guest today, none other than reigning national championship coach from D2, Mike Davenport from North Georgia. Mike, thank you so much for joining me this week on the Softball America podcast.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for having me. And we definitely appreciate the coverage in D2 softball. And we've got a good product. We're excited about the future of where Division II softball is going. And I'm excited to be here. And we're about ready to get things cranked up here in about a week.
Well, we'll get into that in a little bit, but I want to give our listeners and our viewers a little bit of a background. The Nighthawks set a program record 64 wins just a season ago and went 10-1 during the NCAA postseason. 5-1 mark to the NCAA championship bid, second national championship, but just the excellence throughout the years. In 23 years that Coach Davenport has been there, 850 win seasons, 15 regular conference titles, 14 conference tournaments, and then, like I said, 2 NCAA D2 championships. Mike, let's start there. I mean, there's more on this list that I could list, but of all the accolades, let's start with the foundation at North Georgia and how this all started. When did you actually jump over to become the softball coach, and how did that look like? What did that look like?
My first 4 years here at the University of North Georgia, I was the assistant women's basketball coach and really thought that was going to be my career path. I knew I wanted to coach. I had coached a little bit of junior college baseball down at Santa Fe Community College down in Gainesville, Florida, after being a student manager at Oklahoma State University for Gary Ward. And just want to get back in the basketball world. I grew up in the Midwest in the state of Illinois, where basketball is king. And, just started that career path there. And after 4 years of coaching women's basketball here at North Georgia, our softball coach had basically transitioned our program. Ricky Sanders, who was our initial softball coach, did a tremendous job. We played slow pitch college softball at the time, transitioned us to fast pitch softball, did that for about 3 years. And then he took a Division I job with his success. And I had just got married, just got back from our honeymoon, did not want to leave Dahlonega, Georgia. Love it here. Great. It's a state school. It's a great place to raise a family. And it's also a great place to recruit student athletes, especially the female student athlete. And the athletic director at the time just came down and asked me if I wanted the job. And it took me about a week. I said, it was a kind of a shock because that was not even in my career path. To coach softball, a game that I had watched the girls play. We would go support them and tailgate and things like that, but I didn't know much about it other than it was a faster paced baseball game. And after about a week straight, said a lot of prayers, asked the good Lord for some guidance, and we walked through that door that was open for us. And that was in 1999, 2000. And here we are 24 years later, getting ready to start our 24th season in a week.
Incredible. And when you look at all the accolades, even back in 2010, 51 game winning streak, second in the NCAA. When you take a look at all the accolades, what do you believe is the foundation of North Georgia softball, and how have you been able to sustain excellence year in and year out? And again, just in the NFCA preseason poll, ranked number 1, again, defending national championship. So how have you been able to sustain that excellence?
I think for me, Tara, it's just consistency, just showing up to work every day. And that may be part of my Midwest values that my parents raised me with up there. And just showing up to work every day, staying consistent with the kids, and then recruiting, I think, is a big key part of it. I fell in love with the recruiting aspect of college athletics when I was in the junior college level. And then when I got here and was coaching women's basketball, I traveled all over the Southeast and wouldn't make a whole lot of money. But, you did what you had to do, sleep on couches, sleep on floors, to go watch kids play women's basketball to try and convince them to come to Dahlonega, Georgia. At the time, we were an NAI program, a very good NAI program, but before we had transitioned to Division II. So I think the recruiting piece of it is something I've been blessed with. I love to go out and watch games. And if I'm not here in the office and if I'm not on our practice or game field, I'm probably at a local gym or a local high school or softball game, travel game somewhere, or watching my own kids play ball. So I think that combination of what this university offers our student athletes has been a good fit for us. There's a lot of talent in the state of Georgia, we don't go a long way from our front door here to recruit. But I think when we do get those kids and I identify them and they believe in what our vision is and they see what our vision is too, I think that's been a good marriage with both parties there. So I think that's our success. What it is, it's just a sustained success is something I've tried to live by. I want to be that program that's in it every year. And then every now and then, we've been blessed enough to win the last game.
And when you talk a little bit about recruiting or being out at high school games or local games in Georgia, I think this is a really important question, and I've asked various coaches this on the podcast. What are you looking for in an athlete? What type of athlete are you looking for, and what are some of the key markers when you're sitting maybe behind the plate recruiting or at a ball field and watching talent? How are you evaluating talent, and what type of kid are you recruiting to come to North Georgia?
Well, to preface that, the high schools in the state of Georgia play in the fall. To go back to 1999 when I first took the job over, I said, well, let me get acclimated with my team here, and then in the spring I'll have some practices under my belt, and then I'll start going to recruit so I know what to look for. And somebody quickly told me, Coach, they're playing right now, so they play in the fall. So as I sat at the first field in the state of Georgia to watch a high school tournament, I was recruiting and writing down notes of what an illegal pitch was, what's a bunt situation, coverages, and things like that. So I think that kind of played into what I was looking for initially. I am big on recruiting athletes. I like young ladies who play multiple sports. I've actually sat in the gym and watched several kids play high school basketball during their careers, whether it's track and field, soccer, lacrosse, and field hockey scare me a little bit with the injuries, but that's part of it. And I would never steal that experience away from their high school days. But I want young ladies who are athletic that way and can play multiple positions. And that's very important for us at the D2 level. When you're trying to spread out 7.2 scholarships amongst 25 players, you want young ladies who can play multiple positions, and your best athletes can do that. So I think athletically, I want to put the best athletes on the field if possible.
And we can talk a little bit about the transfer portal and how you've utilized that. I think it's obviously a very important piece to our game these days. And when you take a look at your squad, how have you been able to utilize the transfer portal at North Georgia? And, I know it goes both ways, but have you been able to benefit from that transfer portal?
Most definitely. And this has gone on with us for a while now. And like I said, with us playing high school softball in the fall, we've been blessed to be able to host a lot of high school games at our facility in the fall. So it brings a lot of young ladies through our facility that may have never stepped on campus otherwise, or even been in town otherwise. So by them playing here in the fall, we host some travel ball games, other opportunities for us to get young ladies up here. And I'll go after anybody. I mean, I will recruit as many as, if we can. And I want them to tell me no to go to a big D1 school and in hopes that they do succeed. I do want them to go to that level and succeed. But if they don't, if for whatever reason it's not a fit, for whether it's playing time, distance from home, or some other reason, that we're an option if they want to go somewhere else and finish their careers with us.
And Mike, you spoke a little bit about routine, right? And having some structure. What do you believe that routine is, or that secret to success? Like, what does a daily practice look like for you? Or what does that day look like when you're heading into season? What type of routines do you go through?
Well, I think for us, with the NCAA limited hours, I'm a big believer in reps. Because I think with young ladies, the more reps you get, the better chance you have an opportunity to be successful on the field. So I don't want to waste a whole lot of time when we get out there. We're hopefully constantly moving parts. Everybody's getting reps somewhere, whether it's swinging bats, taking fly balls, ground balls, and at a higher rate of speed, and trying to increase the heart rate a little bit. And even if it's self-manufactured from the coaching staff, or the music that's on the PA system or whatever it is, to where they get sped up a little bit so they understand how to control that. So I'm not a big talker. I don't talk a lot after games, and we don't talk a lot before practices and things like that. They understand when we get on the field, we want to get some reps in as much as we can, because again, you're limited on so many hours a week, and especially with the weather this time of year all over the country, trying to prepare for your season is to make sure that these kids are ready to go and have seen every ground ball possibility they can, every fly ball possibility, and even situational awareness as well during the games.
And Mike, we spoke a little bit about this beforehand. When we take a look at the D2 championship, it was in Chattanooga this past season. The 2015 national championship, you played in Oklahoma City. What has that experience been like at the D2 level postseason experience? And can you explain how each year the championship changes sites and cities, and how that actually works?
Yeah, so when we went in, we moved from NAI. When we were at the NAI level, our championship series was in Decatur, Alabama. So I think for the kids at the time, they had a vision of where they wanted to get at the end of every year. Every NAI school in the country had that vision. And once we went in Division II in 2006, you asked where the championships were, and you got a few different answers. And since we've been in it, we've been fortunate enough to play in a few in Oklahoma City, a couple of times in Denver, St. Joe, Missouri, Chattanooga. So it's bounced around a little bit. So I think my philosophy, and I love what Oklahoma City has created. I love what Omaha, Nebraska has created for Division I baseball. Division II baseball players are Division II kids across the country. Their goal every year is Cary, North Carolina, which is the site of the USA training facility. So I felt like we have a great product in Division II softball, a great product. But I felt like if we kept moving it around, we kind of lost a little bit of our fandom. And I felt like if we could find a permanent site, somebody who wanted us and somewhere we wanted to be, I think it could be a good fit and build something pretty unique. And I met with the folks in Chattanooga, Tim Morgan and his staff, about 8, 9, 10 years ago with my vision. He had just gotten the job, so it was a little early in his time in Chattanooga, so they weren't quite ready to jump into that yet. But we revisited it about 6 years ago, and the timing was right. He and his staff, Brant Donlin, had come down and visited with us, looked at our facilities, and kind of saw what we had created here at the University of North Georgia. And I just felt like Chattanooga was a good spot. I mean, it's a melting pot. It's close to Atlanta. It's southeast. So you're going to get hopefully better weather during that time of year. And then they have a beautiful facility, Frost Stadium in Chattanooga, that the city operates. And it's a good spot, I thought. And they were on board. And of course, people make it more than facilities do, but it was just a good combination of both. And last year, I thought they blew the doors off. And I'm kind of been part of it from the initial stages, but when we got up there as a participant, I thought it was better than what I had anticipated, and that's a credit to his staff and the city of Chattanooga for welcoming Division II. And I think they're excited about the future of D2 softball and the possibilities that lay down in front of us over the next few years.
So in Chattanooga last season, and then this next season in 2024, it moves down to Longwood, Florida. So can you also explain what's happening with the festival years and the NCAA and softball, D2 softball being a part of that?
Yeah, so every 4 or 5 years, the NCAA at the Division II level hosts a festival year, and they incorporate one city that kind of hosts several championships, whether it's golf, track and field, tennis, and then softball is one of those sports. So they do that every 5 years, I believe. So this year it'll be outside Orlando in Longwood, Florida. And then I think after that, they've kind of, talked with the coaches. It does affect our schedules a little bit. It shortens our schedules by a week. And I know for softball coaches, we need that week on the end of the schedule, especially the teams in the Midwest and the North. So I'm not sure moving forward if that will remain. And I do know, speaking with the folks in Chattanooga, that we would like to make a big push to make Chattanooga a permanent site, if not at least a long duration there of, potentially 5 to 6 years in a row, so we can see what we can build at one venue. They've already made some tremendous enhancements to their facilities. The downtown area is cool. You've got the Riverwalk. The hotel was phenomenal, and they were just very inviting. And again, when the Division II student athletes feel welcome, that means the world to us, because again, a lot of these kids they're raising money, taking care of their own facilities, washing their own uniforms, all kinds of things like that. When you get to the championship venue like that, you want a T-shirt goes a long way. A free hat goes a long way for these kids. A nice meal goes a long way for these kids and these coaches at the Division II level to feel appreciated. And I think that's what Chattanooga had created for us.
And you spoke a little bit about, washing your own uniforms, and a T-shirt goes a long way. I heard that you have a tendency to iron patches on shoes. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know where you got that from. So yeah, we do all the little things if we can. So that comes from my old sporting goods days when I was putting myself through college and down in Gainesville, Florida, working at a sports shop. So yeah, you see what Nike does for some of these bigger programs, and you see what some of these programs have for themselves and customized apparel. So we're customizing our own apparel. So yeah, we've heat pressed our own jerseys and things like that, and try to increase our shoe game as much as we can as well.
So what does that look like, Mike? I mean, when you're increasing the shoe game, like, what type of patches are we talking about here? Like,
Well,
can you explain this?
we've got little iron-ons that we put our NGs on the shoes, and those have become a hot commodity here on the campus. So it's spread through all of our other sports, which is cool. And even our local high school teams have done it. My son's playing baseball over there, so his team has their little logo on their shoes as well. So it just the little things. And I think that translates to your student athletes. When you talk about, hey, ladies, men, we got to pay attention to the little things on and off the field. And then you're doing those for your kids. I think they appreciate that. And, not everybody knows that I do it here in the office, sitting behind my desk and ironing little logos on shoes. But when you walk on the field, they're like, that's pretty sharp. How'd they get that? So it makes our kids feel pretty special.
And I want to talk a little bit about you've been a part of the pro league as well, and were an assistant coach for the Pride under Gerry Glasco, and then took over the Pride. What was that experience like for you, jumping from D2 to professional ball, and being a part of USSSA Pride, and coaching those athletes?
Well, first and foremost, that was a huge honor for me to be even asked by Gerry to be his assistant that year, and then Don Dean and Otis, and to welcome me into the Pride family. I learned so much from those women playing at the professional level, and I always tell our kids here, one of the things that really stuck with me is every single day, every single rep that I got done, either I'm throwing batting practice or hitting ground balls, every one of those women would say, "Thank you, Davo," every time you did it, because, and I'm not joking. Like, it was every single time. And because you kind of come full circle, and it was very humbling for me at the professional level, because, and I tell my kids here too, when you're youthful, you play on park and rec fields, you kind of wash your own uniforms, you kind of, create your own venues and things like that. You work out on your own. You get to high school, it's a little bit more organized. There's a little bit more resources for you. You get to college, and that's probably the pinnacle of that. You've got weight rooms, you've got strength coaches, you've got nutritionists, you've got academic advisors, you've got managers that are taking care of your field, taking care of your facilities, taking care of your gear, making sure everything's ready for you. And then you go to the professional level, and we're not quite there yet. And it's not because those people aren't invested, because goodness, everybody who owned a professional team in the NPF back then, that was basically money out of their own pocket. But there was times it was very humbling to me to see a Natasha Watley, at 11:30 at night in a hotel, going down to wash her own uniform so she could have a clean uniform the next day, or a Kat Osterman working out an hour after practice and then going to the local gymnasium because that's how she got her workout in. And they appreciated it when you did give them some support, whether it be throwing batting practice or extra ground balls or catching a bullpen or just playing catch with them. So for the game of softball, to me, it was a full circle in the, I guess, the world of your journey there. And it was very humbling to me to see that. But again, to see those women to continue to play, some got paid, some not paid very much, but they played for the love of the game. And we played on facilities that weren't always the nicest. I mean, I'm not sure most of our college fields are, they're probably nicer than some of the fields we played on at the pro level, to be honest with you. But that was because we were taking the game to the people, and we wanted to grow the game. And so sometimes we had to do that for the betterment of the game and to grow the game. And again, that was pretty humbling to be on that end of it. But I learned so much from them. I'm not sure if I helped any of them get better, but I know they helped me get better a lot. And as far as my coaching goes.
Well, I'm sure they beg to differ on that one. I know a few of them, and I think they'd say otherwise. What was the biggest difference that you saw from your athletes that you're coaching in college to the pro athletes, like you said, that you work with every day at the Pride?
Without a doubt, the speed of the game, the strength and the size of those women, some of our best athletes, and of course the Pride. We were blessed; we had a pretty good roster. So I'm not sure how much coaching we did, other than writing the lineup and putting the right people in the right spot. But so tremendously athletic, the speed, the strength, and they didn't miss on much. And it kind of made them better too, I think, because they're coming from college and as playing at UCLA, you're going to play your conference foes maybe 3 times a year. Well, at the pro level, you're facing them close to 10 times a piece, and so there's no secrets, and so you have to reinvent yourself a little bit. And we saw that at the pro level as the transition of some successful college players coming to the pro level, not immediately having success because once you get figured out, you have to be able to adjust. And it took some of our players, a month or 2 months, or maybe even a season to figure that out. And when you're facing, Monica Abbott, Kat Osterman, and it's, potentially, once or twice a week, all the way through the course of a summer, if you have a weakness, you're going to get exploited. And the same thing for pitchers. If you're facing a tremendous hitter, that you better exploit their weakness or you're going to get hit pretty well.
Well, I think that when you take a look at the pro level and the many iterations that we've had, hopefully we can get to a point where that's a steady stream because it is incredible softball. And you've been a huge part of that. And I just want to switch gears here a little bit to kind of talk a little bit about your squad.
Yeah.
And what you're going to see here in 2024. Runner-up Grand Valley State. They were 8-0 until falling to you in the championship game. Talk a little bit about your squad, and then we'll talk about kind of the landscape of D2 and what we can look forward to heading into season.
Well, from last year, we lost 3 tremendous leaders more than softball players, and they were really good softball players. Our first baseman, Olivia Sinkfield, she graduated. She is now teaching and coaching at a local high school team about 30 miles south of us. And then Hannah Forehand led the country in RBIs. And that's a young lady who sat a lot her first 2 years, didn't play a lot. But again, we talk about working while you're waiting, and she did. And when she got an opportunity, she exploded on the scene her junior and senior year. And then Maddie Perry was another young lady I recruited out of high school. She went to an SEC program, didn't get a whole lot of playing time, transferred to us. And even when she transferred in, she didn't play much her first year as a shortstop, was sitting behind a young lady who finished with 19 home runs her senior year. And then Maddie got an opportunity to step in there 2 years ago and never looked back, and was a catalyst to our offense, hitting in the 2-hole, but more importantly, just so consistent at the shortstop position. So we lost those 3. Maddie and Hannah both graduated and opted to start in the working world. And Hannah's going into physical therapy school here at the University of North Georgia next year. So we're hoping we'll get her back on staff as an assistant GA coach. But after that, so we've got the other pieces are back. We actually gained a few pieces that were injured last year. So I think roster wise, we've got our pitching staff back. And as you know, the game of softball starts in that circle. So we have all 5 of our arms back. But again, they've got to evolve. They've got to reinvent themselves and be different than they were last year to continue to be successful. Obviously, our middle infield is going to be the area of change for us more than anything. First base, we had Sophie Mooney, who played there behind Olivia when she wasn't pitching, but Sophie's one of our arms and one of our better hitters as well. So we're going to move some pieces around on the infield to see how things fit best. And our outfield is extremely competitive right now. Like I said, we gained a couple players back, and even the kids we recruited in, whether it's transfer or high school kids, that are going to make it very competitive. But we're also building for the future. And like I tell the young ladies, it's sometimes you come out of high school and you're ready to play and you're ready to perform and you're ready to produce. But most are not, because it's a change of level. So while you're waiting, you have to continue to work. And I think for me as a coach, that makes me feel best is when I can see kids their sophomore, junior year really start to produce and be a big part of the program instead of, giving up on themselves or not working their freshman year and then never really being able to produce because they haven't improved. So that's a kudos to our kids who buy in. They know, if hey, I'm not playing, but I'm still going to work my tail off and get better, because when my shot does come, I want to be ready to go. And that's a tribute to them, what they do on the field and in the weight room, because I think the weight room is a big part of what we do as well.
And you got a pair of 20 game winners on that staff in Davis and Denton. Big mix, but those two leading the innings pitched and with 20 wins, but a sub-2 ERA on that pitching staff. Can you kind of just dive into the makeup of that pitching staff? Because like you said, they're returning, but sub-2 ERA, loads of strikeouts as well. What are you seeing from those five arms that you've got?
Well, a couple years ago, we were able to go back to Denver and compete and finish in the Final Four. And for most of those pitchers, they were very young. And for us to get there and just to get them that experience, I think that played a lot into it. The addition of Aaliyah White Medina, who Aaliyah pitched at University of Central Florida. She's now our pitching coach. She came in last year. And I think the timing was just perfect. Our pitchers, most of our pitchers that threw a lot of innings became juniors. So maturity level was there. They understood their bodies. And then you add Aaliyah's leadership and her guidance and what she's been through at the Division I level at UCF. Everything just kind of clicked for the girls last year. They are a tight-knit group. Most pitching staffs, you can get a little bit of, I don't want to say animosity, but competitiveness within each other. But this group is totally the opposite. And that's why we had success last year and the year before. Is they pull for each other big time. And I've had even a couple of them come and say, Coach, she's a better matchup for this team than I am. And you don't get pitchers who hand over the ball. Now, they all want the ball, but they understand the ultimate goal for us. And I think that played into our success last year, was having all five of those arms healthy and rested. I know Sophie had come to me, Mooney had come to me. She's first baseman DH for us when she's not pitching. She came to me early in the year. She said, Coach, I want some reps at first. I said, I get it, but listen to me. I just think, I can wear you out right now in March, but I want you at the end of the year. And sure enough, she was strong as all get out at the end of the year, came in and closed a lot of games for us. But they're all totally different, but they're all just great kids, and they pull for each other big time. They're all at different parts of their careers as far as, how many innings they're getting and how much success they've had. So if they're kind of behind, they're pulling for them to have their moment in the lights right now. And I think that's been our biggest thing. And that goes to our position players as well. But having your pitchers pull for each other initially, that just kind of lays the foundation for your position players to say, hey, if they don't care who's getting the credit, then I don't care who's getting the credit. Let's get it done.
And I really want to touch a little bit on Sophie Mooney. You mentioned her a few times, but 442 average, 71 RBIs on the season, 11 home runs, 3 triples, and 15 doubles, and 19 bags too. So 19 stolen bases, and she throws in the circle. Give me an idea what it's like to coach a kid like Mooney.
Yeah. She's pretty special. Transferred to us from a mid-major Division I program, and just wanted a different look. And it was cool to see her have the success. She went to a big high school here in the state of Georgia, one of the bigger classifications in the state of Georgia, but in one of the most competitive regions in the state of Georgia. They were good, but they never won anything. And then when she went to her first program, they didn't win a whole lot, as far as championships and things like that at the end. And so for her to get a taste of it, it was cool to see. Because again, I want these kids to finish their careers on a good note, whether it be health wise or whether it be success wise. And I think for Soph, about halfway through the season, we got in a pretty good winning streak there after we split our first games of the year. I think we won 38 games in a row. And Sophie had mentioned that's probably more games than she won her first 2 years in college. But it's cool to see kids have that experience. And that's kind of why that makes this why I do what I do. But she's so athletic. She can hit, she can pitch, she can play first. She asked me to steal more bases. And so we kind of unleashed her a little bit. And, part of me is like, you're my closer right now, and I can't get you hurt. But again, I don't want to ever hold my kids back. So we unleashed her a little bit. But she's a really good base runner too. just great softball IQ. And I think that's what's helped her be a pitcher and a hitter as well, too.
Well, that's exciting. It sounds like a potential to maybe go back to back. I know it's a little bit early in the season, and that's really far down the line. But I want to close with this: what are you most looking forward to heading into season with this 2024 squad?
Well, I think just being around them again. I felt like this summer was a very short summer, which is good. I mean, that's not everybody would hope to have a short summer. When you play the last game of the season against a tremendous opponent like Grand Valley, your summer is pretty quick, and you're celebrating a little bit, but immediately you're trying to get prepared for the 24 season. So this has been a group of veteran leadership. There's not been a whole lot of motivation, and this is how we do things at North Georgia. They've coached themselves more than I've ever had to coach a team. So I just feel like, they've been through it. They know what it takes. And for me, I can focus on other things, and maybe that group that are new players here, whether, like I said, whether they're freshmen or transfers in to kind of help them along the way. Because if I can get them at their, highest level, then that's just going to make us a better team. So new challenge, new year. We've done a few things. We had a ring ceremony a week ago, and I believe next week we're finally going to go to the state capitol in Atlanta to celebrate the girls. But after that, it's time to close that chapter. And for them, I don't want them. We're not closing on their life, because that's the player from last year that will never be taken. You'll always be the 2023 national champion. And but now let's go write a new chapter in the book and see what we can do in 2024. And again, I'm a healthy schedule, big time competition on the schedule, but that's who we are. It's, I guess, I ever since we've got into this from the NAI level, it's kind of been my opportunity to say, well, if we want to be the best, let's see who the best are. And we took our lumps the first couple of years and played some really good teams in the southeast part of the country. And now we're one of those teams. So I think we just continue to play them. And if you don't play well, you're going to get exposed and you're going to lose. But that's a learning opportunity for us. We had it several times last year, and but you learn to create some resiliency to that. And I think that's what played out in our run towards the end of the year as well.
Well, I'm excited to actually hopefully can get out to a Nighthawks game. That's going to be it's on my list of things to do now. And got goosebumps with just talking about the national championship and celebrating that and the ring ceremony. And we're going to get you back on here, because I'm going to need some updates throughout the season. But appreciate you. Thank you for everything you've done for the sport. Thank you for everything you've done for the sport of softball and sustained excellence at North Georgia. And can't wait to see the Nighthawks and what you all do in 2024. So, Mike, thanks for joining the Softball America podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you again. And anytime D2 softball can get out front of everybody, we'd love to do it.
I love that. So subscribe to Softball America on YouTube, and send us any questions if you might have any. And if you have any for Coach Davenport, we can pass those along as well. Any questions on North Georgia. I'm Tara Henry for the Softball America podcast. We'll see you all very soon.